What if 5 simple oversights in your retirement accounts are quietly siphoning off 6 figures without you ever seeing a warning flag? You've been diligent. You've opened your 401k, you've tucked away your IRA contributions, and you've watched the balance grow with every pay period. Yet hidden in the fine print, lurking behind seemingly innocuous decisions, are mistakes that compound against you year after year. Failing to grab that full employer match isn't just leaving a few bucks on the table. It can cost more than $100,000 in lost contributions and growth over time. Mindlessly sticking with high-fee funds instead of low-cost alternatives might seem trivial today. But over a 30-year horizon, those fees can slice hundreds of thousands off your final balance. Then there's sequence of returns risk. A market downturn in the first 5 years of retirement can drain your spending power far more than volatility a decade later, potentially shaving 6 figures from your lifetime income. And if you've ever tapped your retirement accounts before age 59 and a half, those 10% penalties plus ordinary income taxes don't just sting in the short term. They rob you of decades of tax-deferred compounding on every dollar withdrawn. Finally, missing or miscalculating your required minimum distributions can trigger a jaw-dropping 50% excise tax on the shortfall, instantly erasing tens of thousands in a single misstep. In this video, we're peeling back the curtain on these 5 silent killers of retirement wealth. You'll see exactly where you may be vulnerable, how these mistakes stack up over time, and most importantly, what you can do right now to plug the leaks before your hard-earned savings slip through the cracks. Stick around, because understanding these traps could make the difference between a comfortable retirement and a 6-figure shortfall you never saw coming. First, there's the mistake almost everyone makes at some point, leaving free money on the table. Imagine turning down a guaranteed 50% return simply because you didn't contribute enough to your 401k match. If your employer offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to, say, 6% of your salary, every dollar you fail to contribute is a dollar you'll never get back, and over a 30-year career. That adds up to well over $100,000 in lost free money plus compounded gains. Yet year after year, surveys show that nearly half of employees don't max out their match, either because they assume they can't afford it, they procrastinate enrolling, or they switch jobs and forget to re-elect their contributions. That hesitation costs more than just missed contributions. It leaves your nest egg perpetually smaller than it could have been, eroding the power of compound growth. Think about it. If you earn $60,000 a year and only contribute 3% instead of the full 6% match, you're passing on $1,800 in contributions annually, invested and compounded at a conservative 6% return. That shortfall grows to more than $120,000 over 3 decades. And that estimate assumes you contribute at least something. The real damage is even greater for those who never opt in at all. Worse still, the regret tends to pile on late in one's career when catching up is almost impossible. You can only defer so much salary to a 401k, and you can't go back and retroactively capture that lost match. The solution is deceptively simple. As soon as you're eligible, at the very minimum, contribute enough to claim 100% of your employer's match, and then raise your contributions gradually until you're on track to hit your overall savings goals. It's the easiest high-return investment you'll ever make, and skipping it quietly costs you 6 figures before you know it. Next up, fees that feel tiny on paper, but become massive thieves over decades. Most 401ks and IRAs come with management and administrative expenses, often totaling 1 to 2% of your assets each year. That might not sound like much, but when you consider a $500,000 balance, a 1.5% fee is $7,500 taken out annually before you ever see it. Now, compound that for 30 years, and you're talking about fees that can shave off $200,000 or more from your final nest egg, compared to a low-cost alternative. Here's how it works in real life. Imagine 2 savers, both contributing $10,000 a year and earning a 6% annual return before fees. One pays average fees of 1.9%, the Mercer median, while the other sticks with a streamlined portfolio charging just 0.2%. After 30 years, the low-fee investor ends up with nearly $720,000, while the high-fee investor is down closer to $550,000, a staggering $170,000 difference, all because of that extra 1.7% drag. Fees hide in many places. Expense ratios on mutual funds, record-keeping charges, retirement plan administrative fees, and even revenue sharing between brokers and fund families. Often, you'll only find the details buried in a prospectus or your quarterly statement footnotes. And because fees are taken out of returns before they're credited, you rarely see a line item that screams, "Hey, I just lost $5,000 in fees this year." Worse, many plans automatically default you into target date or life cycle funds, slick products with higher embedded fees for the convenience of an automated asset mix. You get the impression you're being set it and forget it, but all you're really doing is locking in a higher expense ratio. Swapping to a few low-cost index funds or ETFs with fees well below 0.5% can put tens of thousands back into your pocket over time. The takeaway is clear. Fees compound just like investment returns, but in the opposite direction. The sooner you audit your expense ratios and switch to leaner options, the more money you'll save, and that difference can easily reach six figures by the time you retire. Don't let invisible fees rob you of your future. The third silent killer is one that doesn't show up on your statement until it's too late: sequence of returns risk. It's the idea that when you start withdrawing from your nest egg matters just as much, if not more, than your average annual return. Imagine two retirees, Alice and Ben, both beginning retirement with $500,000. Alice experiences a brutal market downturn in the first 5 years, losing 20% before markets recover and produce steady 6% gains. Ben, on the other hand, enjoys a bull run early on, then faces the same 20% drop later in retirement. Even though both see identical returns over a 30-year span, Alice ends up with significantly less money, simply because she was forced to sell shares at depressed prices to cover living expenses. Over a typical retirement horizon, those early losses can cost you $100,000, $200,000, or more in lost spending power, money you'll never get back. Sequence of returns risk is especially perilous because most retirees don't plan for a market crash just as their withdrawals begin. They build a comfortable withdrawal rate, say, for percent of their portfolio each year, assuming market averages. But if a crash occurs in year 1 or 2, they must dip into a shrinking principal, locking in permanent losses and reducing the amount left to recover when markets rally. Even slight timing differences, a 10% drop at age 62 versus age 65, can translate into thousands of dollars less spent on travel, healthcare, or simply enjoying retirement. The solution isn't to try and predict market cycles, it's to create a buffer against them. Bucket strategies, where you hold 1 to 3 years of cash or short-duration bonds to fund near-term expenses, prevent you from selling into a downturn. Dynamic withdrawal methods adjust your spending based on portfolio performance, reducing withdrawals after a loss to allow recovery. Variable annuities with income riders or a small guaranteed income floor can also shield you from drawing down assets in bad years. Understanding sequence of returns risk isn't optional. It's fundamental to protecting your retirement lifestyle. By front-loading stability and building in recovery space, you guard against that silent six-figure drain. But sequence risk is only one of the pitfalls waiting in your account. We'll explore the high cost of early withdrawals next, and why tapping your retirement too soon could trigger penalties that compound your losses. Withdrawing money from your retirement account before age 59 and a half feels like an easy fix when cash is tight, but that decision can quietly cost you six figures over time. First, the IRS slaps a 10% early withdrawal penalty on the entire amount you take out on top of ordinary income tax at your marginal rate. So if you remove $100,000, you face at least a $10,000 penalty plus, say, $22,000 in federal and state taxes, leaving you with just $68,000 instead of the full $100,000 you thought you needed. But the immediate cost is only the beginning. Every dollar you pull out loses the potential for decades of tax-deferred growth. Assume a 6% annual return. That $100,000 withdrawn at age 55 would have grown to roughly $574,000 by age 75. By cashing out early, you've foregone nearly $500,000 of future value, money you simply can't replace later. Even smaller withdrawals add up. A $25,000 loan today could translate into $143,000 lost over the same 20-year period. What's worse, once you tap your 401k or IRA, it's often gone for good. Unlike a loan you repay, those funds don't return to your account. This mistake typically stems from not planning ahead for emergencies or underestimating the value of maintaining your account's compounding engine. Instead of raiding your nest egg, consider alternatives. Building a dedicated cash reserve, tapping a home equity line of credit, or using a 72T substantially equal periodic payment plan that avoids penalties, though it requires strict adherence. The bottom line is clear. Tapping your retirement early isn't just a small hiccup. It's a six-figure decision that starts with a penalty and ends with the loss of compounding power you'll never recoup. And that's a cost no retiree can afford to ignore. The fifth and most dramatic mistake is botching your required minimum distributions. Picture this. You're cruising through your 70s thinking you've got retirement nailed when an overlooked RMD deadline triggers a shockwave through your nest egg. The IRS requires you to withdraw a specific amount from each tax-deferred account once you hit age 73, and if you miss the deadline or under-withdraw, the penalty is a staggering 50% of the shortfall. So, if your RMD for the year is $50,000 and you only take $40,000, you owe a $5,000 penalty on top of the taxes you already owe, a penalty you can't absorb with future withdrawals. What makes this error so costly is how easy it is to miscalculate, especially if you hold multiple IRAs, 401ks, inherited accounts, or SEP/simple IRAs. Each has its own RMD formula and deadline. Take Sylvia, who assumed her custodian would combine all her accounts into one RMD calculation. Instead, she needed to calculate and withdraw separately from each IRA. She missed one, triggered a $6,000 penalty, and spent weeks gathering documents to petition for relief, only to have the IRS grant a partial waiver after she proved reasonable error. And that waiver process didn't reimburse her lost compounding on the withdrawn amount, so she still watched her account balance shrink by tens of thousands. Then there's the recalculation pitfall. Your RMD percentage changes every year based on your account balance and life expectancy factor. If you forget to update your beneficiary designations, your life expectancy table can be wrong, leading to underwithdrawals and a 50% tax bill on the difference. Even seasoned advisors slip up on this nuance. The cure? Automate with a trusted financial partner who runs annual RMD projections for every retirement account, triggers reminders well before the deadline, and oversees withdrawals to match exactly what the IRS expects. Better yet, schedule RMDs with tax withholding built in, so you won't owe a surprise tax bill on top of the penalty. Because missing an RMD isn't a small oops. It's a six-figure hazard that can drain your wealth overnight if you let it slip through the cracks. By now, you've seen how 5 deceptively simple mistakes in your retirement accounts can quietly siphon off six-figure sums before you ever realize what's happening. Skipping the full employer match isn't a small regret. It can cost you well over $100,000 in missed contributions and compounded growth. Hidden fees that seem trivial, 1 or 2% here, a few basis points there, can balloon into a $200,000 drag on your nest egg over 3 decades. Sequence of returns risk isn't just a theoretical concept. Suffering a market downturn in your first 5 retirement years can permanently slash your lifetime spending power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tapping your 401k or IRA before age 59.5 might seem like an emergency lifeline, but the 10% penalty, ordinary income tax, and lost decades of compounding can erase nearly $500,000 of future value on a $100,000 withdrawal. And botching your RMDs after 73 isn't a paperwork hiccup, it's a potential 50% excise tax on any shortfall, instantly erasing tens of thousands and inflicting irreversible losses. These 5 silent traps share one lesson. The small choices you make today compound into monumental differences down the line. Retirement planning isn't just about hitting contribution limits or picking funds. It's about strategically aligning every aspect of your savings vehicle to your long-term timeline, tax brackets, and risk profile. Audit your 401k and IRA now. Ensure you're claiming every dollar of employer match. Swap out high-fee funds for lean index alternatives. Design a withdrawal strategy that guards against sequence risk. Build an emergency bucket to avoid early withdrawals, and automate and double-check your RMD calculations. Time is your most powerful ally. The sooner you plug these leaks, the more of your hard-earned money you'll preserve to enjoy travel, hobbies, healthcare, and peace of mind in retirement. 6-figure shortfalls don't occur overnight. They creep up year by year, buried in fees, penalties, and timing missteps. But armed with awareness and a clear action plan, you can seal off each pathway to unnecessary loss and reclaim those hundreds of thousands that might otherwise slip away. Your retirement years are meant for freedom, not financial regrets. Start today by reviewing these 5 critical areas, making the necessary adjustments, and staying vigilant. Because no one else will fight for your future with the urgency you will. So take control now, before these silent account killers do what market downturns alone never could.